Okay. So, this is what's coming up for you. Welcome to whatever's going on with you this week. Let's work through it, okay? So, first things first, you need to see the opportunity and seize the opportunity of the moment. What that means is that you might actually end up having some big ideas. And these big ideas can be very impactful. For example, you want to rebuild your life. You're thinking about who you want to be, what you want that to look like. That's what this is. Now, if you're someone who is very creative or you like to utilize your imagination, this might not be difficult. This might not be a tough thing to do. It might be free flowing. But then comes the second challenge. When you come up with big ideas and it's easy for you, or maybe you just come up with your big idea, you then have to figure out what actions do you need to take to materialize it. When I say materialize it, I'm not talking about money. It can eventually be money. In this climate, let it be money. But I'm not directly saying it instantly becomes money. I'm saying, how do you take it from your brain out into reality? Well, that requires effort. And what ends up happening is the inspiration is just inspiration. It doesn't come out exactly how the inspiration looks. And that's when people start rolling on the floor, tripping out, giving up, and not trying to do it because they think just because they had the idea that it should be like this, when they wanted to materialize it, bring it into the physical, that inspiration shapes reality. It doesn't conform or merge reality into what was up here. And people don't know what to do with that. They don't know how to compromise with themselves. They don't know how to find a balance ground. They look at the world as black and white and yes and no, and not this huge continuum of options and things to do. So what ends up happening is that you have this idea, you get inspired, and as soon as you reach your first hiccup, you give up. It becomes overwhelming. Now, rightfully so, you might feel like, I don't like the way that this feels. That's you being honest. I don't think anything is wrong with that. But then to not figure out, okay, well, what change do I need to make? Then you realize either the change requires more effort, or if you don't have the energy, it requires more time, a lower amount of energy and more time. And so you can't have it both ways when you're trying to build something. You can't say, I want it fast and I want it tomorrow, but then I also want good mental health and well-being. Something has to give. And again, there are many situations that people are in that systemically people get put into where they need it yesterday. So there's no shame in, the desperation that comes in this kind of environment, or the fact that the current that is flowing is a current of distrust in yourself. So someone might say that like they're in a desperate situation and they need something yesterday, but really it is having a whole entire social structure convincing you that you don't know who you are, you don't know what you're talking about, and you need to get it done fast because you don't believe that you can go the long run. Here's the reality. You got to find balance. Anything you want to do, even if you were in an ideal situation, it takes time. Things have to align. You got to put the work in and, things just have to align. Sometimes you're so forward seeking that you're just ahead of your time. That doesn't mean you're not building. A lot of times there are opportunities to build into the future that you want, and it just takes time to get there. Other times you have to navigate your current infrastructure and figure out a way to get yourself in there. That also takes time too. So yes, in our mind, it is so clear. If it's so clear, why doesn't it just materialize and it just show up in our life in that clear way? Yeah, it's just not like that. It's just not like that. And there's so many forces that are trying to prevent you. I mean, I know it sounds like conspiracy theory and this and that, but no, there's really so many forces that we just see throughout history. It's usually people with power, that are trying to convince you that you can't do anything. You can't think for yourself. You can't desire things that are outside of the current infrastructure that reinforces their power because of money. It's just, money and power and stuff like that. But the ability to do stuff, to be in control, to have what they want be a priority, okay, for society. Anyway, there's so many things. You're being influenced all the time. You're being told all the time that you are not attractive enough, or that you're not smart enough, or that you come from the wrong background, or you were born in the wrong body, and all of these things that are telling you all the time why you're not enough. And it distracts you to make you think that you have to figure those things out before you can even start your dreams. So that's why when you have an idea, you feel overly stimulated and overwhelmed. It's by design. Okay, you cannot buy into these things. Now, when you stop buying into these things, it doesn't mean that everybody else stops buying into it. There are many people who buy into their own systems of oppression. It is very unfortunate, and they control it through education. They control it through access to information and confusing people. That's why when you're on social media and you're scrolling, it's just like overwhelming information. It's like this and that and this and that. And it's to make us all dumber, by the way, so that we don't trust it. It's nothing new. It's called propaganda. They use it, in order to skew a person's ability to think clearly. Okay. Enough on that. Okay, enough on that. But those big ideas, they come with understanding or having some wisdom associated with it. You have to understand that you got to be responsible for yourself. No one is coming to save you, okay? You have to save yourself. And saving yourself doesn't mean that you have to fight for the scarce resources here and struggle with other people trying to save themselves. No, saving yourself means you got to use your noodle, okay? And you got to think, how can I make something stretch? How can I imagine something in a way that this current, environment I have, it's limiting me, but I know I can make this happen with what I've got. People do it all the time, as much access as we have to the internet, there's so much information that is misleading, but there's also a lot of good information. We live in an unprecedented time where you can learn how to do pretty much anything. But the reason why people don't exercise that is they're overwhelmed. They believe that they can only accomplish certain things if it's done under a certain system. And so even though you have access to the information, which they're constantly trying to put a paywall in front of, constantly trying to take away, they have taught you in your mind by training you not to trust yourself, by feeling that someone has to lead you through this or that you can't do something. But you got to have the wisdom. Whatever that big idea is, whatever the, stuff is that's flowing in your life or coming up in your life, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that it's worth your time to give a damn, worth your time to keep it going and keep it flowing. There's so many things that are rightfully so overwhelming and annoying, I think most people just want to enjoy life and have fun. But you have to deconstruct a lot of things within your actual body, within your mind, within your energy, working on those shadow parts of you, but deconstructing these things that you don't notice, that are living in the realm in your mind, that are perpetuating systems that don't work. I know it's sounding like real, like intellectual and systemic, but the thing is this: no one is putting a curse on you. No one is hexing you. You think it's your neighbor who's hating on you. No, your neighbor is trying to survive just like you. Now, one could argue that we do have a spell on us, and the spell of believing that only a few people should have access to all of this. But, that's a different conversation for another day. You don't have to be esoteric or into any kind of energy work to be manipulating energy and controlling people. But anyway, no one has that on you. What it is we are putting that on ourselves by continuing to support systems that don't work. Systems that make us think that somebody who is also struggling is out here to take our job or stealing this or that, our resources, or, we're so great in our nation, whatever, blah, 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 blah. No, these are other people who are just trying their best as well. No, that's not the case. That's not what's happening. Really, what is happening is that we are giving up in order to not have solidarity with each other. We see our competitor as each other when that's not even the case. We need each other. Look at any kind of them stupid economic, elementary economic models where they're like, you're on an island and Dave has coconuts and you have oranges and so has wood. And then you all start trading with each other and da 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 da. Okay. So we all need each other. We need to be in connection with each other, but we need to break down those barriers. So when we see someone who's being different and is working out for them, we should be happy for that. Even if we had to struggle through something, we should be happy for that. We shouldn't buy into the otherness, othering others. There are so many people, and don't make me name them, who believed in their systemic supremacy and voted all of their rights away. And even within other communities, still upholding this mindset of wanting to have favor in that. Don't make me say it. Okay, don't make me say it. But it doesn't exist. They don't gotta, come on now, So many people uphold the current infrastructure thinking that they will be a billionaire one day. You're not going to be. You're statistically more likely to win the lottery. I'm not saying play the lottery. I'm just telling you. Okay? So you got to deconstruct these things. Those big ideas, they're shaped in a system that is not going to let you win. So you got to create your own systems. You got to create your own ways of looking that can exist within where we're at. Meaning, whenever you're overwhelmed or depressed, you don't have to instantly go buy something to make you feel better. That's what they trained us to do. Take your time back. I was going to say, steal your time back. We're overwhelmed. We're depressed. We get this free, social media, whatever, dopamine, hit. No, take it back, because y'all know, y'all are chronically online like we all are, okay? Like, it's hard to find the really quality stuff. And when you find it, you feel like you've hit a gold mine. You're like, this is nice. But it's like you're intentional. You stop by the places that are important to you, and that then feeds into other areas too of like, oh, I think I would be interested in this and that. You can't just be scrolling because you're overwhelmed. But this hierarchy will make you feel that way. Okay, it'll make you feel that way. But you have to find not just bravery, but the ability to see yourself becoming strong in this. Be resourceful. Figure out how to do things that people are constantly forgetting how to do, like how to trade with each other. When I say trade with each other, maybe you're really good at decorating, okay? And you're like really, really good. So you know how to put things together. And so you work with someone who maybe is good with music. Maybe they like have great musical taste. And you're all like, come on, everybody wants to go out now, but it's so expensive. We're going to figure out something together. So you use the resources you have and you make this stuff look really, really good. And then they have great musical taste. We don't even know if they're a DJ or not, but they're just like, you know what? We're going to set an ambiance. We're going to set a vibe, and then we're going to pull people in. That's what I'm talking about, being resourceful. And then figuring out like, oh, okay, we're going to make this accessible so that people can come and do this, and people are going to like it and this and that. Or maybe it's something like you're really good at cooking. You cook something, something from your tradition that you make. And some people might miss that. They didn't get it because they always try to make us work. We can't learn how to do anything. And they miss that. So you have this thing that is authentic, that someone, they can try to duplicate it, but this came from your mother, your grandmother, your father, your uncle, your whomever, that was really, they can taste it. Okay. I just went to a farmer's market, right? And I was looking and they had some Saltanias and there were different vendors and I looked at it. And by the color, I could tell which one was going to hit. I said, okay, I need that one. That one with the little yellowish, orangish hue, that's the one I need. There was one that was just so pale. I was like, you know what? It might be healthier. I don't know. It might be traditional somewhere else. I don't know. But this is the one I know. And this is the one I'm going to get. Okay. Maybe that's the marketing on me. Maybe I'm brainwashed. Maybe it's food coloring. I don't know. But it made me feel like, this one's going to taste good, okay? This one's going to taste really good. So I'm saying all of this to say to you, you have to imagine the vision. Now, that stuff I'm talking about is kind of entrepreneurial. What if you're entrepreneurial? What if you want to work in a certain career field? Or maybe what if you're trying to attract a certain community group? You feel isolated, you feel alone, you want to be connected. Maybe you're trying to build your own family. The same things apply here. Connect with people. Don't be having no struggle love, struggle friendship, struggle relationships. Do not force any relationships in your life. Yes, to go out and meet people, you're going to meet people that you don't necessarily feel connected with. But that opens up opportunities for you to meet more people. It's the same thing when you're going on dates. Yeah, you got to put yourself out there and you're going to meet people that are not for you. But don't settle. Just keep on going. Just keep on opening yourself up to realizing, okay, this is what I don't want in a partner. This is what I do want in a partner. And do that as well. That also means you show up in a new way. Society is always telling people how to date. Well, they tell y'all heterosexuals how to date all the time. I don't feel like they're ever talking to like gay people besides saying like, hey, don't do that. But they don't really dictate to us like, do it this way. But they tell y'all all the time how y'all shouldn't be dating. And I feel like it blocks y'all from dating each other. No, I think having quality relationships with people, getting to know somebody, taking the time, doing thoughtful things. They tell y'all it's all about money. And it's because we're in late stage capitalism. Like everyone is strapped for cash. So that is very important. But what's more important when you're dating is to be with someone that you can be in a team with, someone that you're collaborative with, someone where you all can hold each other down and y'all can figure out anything. And I'm not saying do that in like to have a struggle love, but it's like, shoot, that example that I gave you about two people coming together, that could be you and your significant other. Y'all could be growing something that's great. Y'all could come together because they always say if you want to go somewhere fast, you go by yourself, but if you want to go somewhere far, you go with others. There's more things that are important to help you get there. Obviously, you don't want to be with someone who's a bum and you don't want to be a bum. Or let me say that differently, because I feel like there's too much criminalization of, the displaced. I'm not saying it like that. I'm saying it like this. You don't want to be with someone who just is taking advantage of you. And you also, I hope, don't want to take advantage of other people. But when you are constantly being told that you got to play into the game and this and that, you're going to feel disenfranchised. You're going to feel like you have to do that kind of stuff. No, you don't. You don't. And that's what these people want. They get really angry when people actually find genuine love, when people actually are in like loving relationships. Especially, I'm telling y'all, when y'all be in them heterosexual relationships that are actually loving and they're not like supporting the patriarchy and stuff, they are livid. They cannot stand that. How dare a man actually love a woman based off of who she is and not her just being at his disposal? How dare a woman love herself and not see herself as simply a commodity? And that's just one example. I'm not trying to make it all about that. I'm just trying to give you a relationship example. It happens in friendships too, dynamics where there might be certain cultures that come to play. And there's this kind of like, for us that come from certain communities that have been trafficked or colonized or all kinds of stuff, still playing into the white supremacy, or still playing into these things that make us fight each other, when we should just be coming together and overall understanding that, like, in these spaces, to learn and to love on each other and to be there and not just be vying to be, the pet to a systemic system that doesn't exist anymore. Unfortunately, a lot of these American white people in rural areas have voted all of their rights away, and they're constantly being manipulated and being told. That's the whole MAGA thing. They're being told, like, oh, someone's stealing it, and the ones with the money, they really be stealing from each other. I'm like, Jesus Christ, y'all can't see this, no pun intended for the Christian nationals. I'm just saying, I like to explain to you all how the everyday stuff relates to what's going on energetically. And I'm not trying to overwhelm you with politics or make everything political, but it's at a point where just living is political. You're just like, you try to get up and just, you want to go for a nice walk, and then you have to over and triple think, like, are you in the right body to be allowed to go for a walk? Don't make me say what I gotta say. You know what I'm saying? Having to overthink this, you're just like, I just want to work. You see how weird the working world is now. You see how it is. There's all these jobs and ain't no jobs. Okay, you in the jobs, and the jobs is it ain't jobbing like it used to, okay? They want you to work every second, every second. Meanwhile, back in the day, then people were just sitting there, like, I'm not saying that they weren't, working hard, but there's an expectation that every moment has to be in use of building or profit or this and that, and they don't care about your well-being. I'm saying all that to say, to bring it back to the original point, care about these big ideas, okay? Create the life you want. Even in all this stuff I'm talking about, you can still create and start to build towards a life that you want. In all civilizations that have come and gone, the people still exist. They still exist. I'm not saying necessarily cultures always make it through, but the people, they go somewhere, they do something, and it's often what comes next. It's those people who are working now to build what their next is. The next has to be equitable for everybody. The next has to mean we're all coming together. The next has to mean we see it as just two things, okay? The haves and the have-nots. And the ones who have, they really, really have. It's not like y'all be thinking y'all have, but y'all don't really have. Y'all millionaires think y'all have, and y'all really actually don't be having. You just high paid workers. We're all workers here, okay? We need to come to we need to come together and just build as best that we can, okay? Work in creating the life we want, and it starts with you. Okay, so that's what's coming up for you this week. I always tell myself, like, I don't want to, always be talking about systemic stuff. But then I sit and I'm like, but how am I going to help people in use my gifts if I can't even explain it to people? I think in the esoteric community, there's this like escapism you want to release. I think that's why also people get caught up in cults, because someone sells them this like, oh, I got the answer and nothing else matters, and it's so definitive and it's so yes and no, and then it never works out, okay? But then also not explaining to people, oftentimes because people don't know. They're not like, they're not aware. They don't want to be aware. They're overwhelmed and they're looking for the escapism in it. And I say all that to say is like, I want you to use whatever you have at your disposal to get to where you need to go. And I got to teach you the game. I have to tell you what's going on. I have to explain it. So I'm not overtly trying to be political. I'm just trying to help you protect yourself. And also for you to care about your neighbors, to care about each other. Like we have to be in it together. We can't just have all of this otherness just constantly going on. And for me to say, kumbaya, come together and hold hands and not say the quiet parts out loud would be problematic. I would just be sending y'all out there to be, delusional and fail. No, we all got to come together. We all got to figure it out. And like I said before, if you have any kind of privileged identities, you got to leverage that for the equity of others. And if you are in any marginalized identities or positions or, you cannot buy into what the systemic has told you or taught you. And we got to, just see each other as like, let's do this. Okay, that's that. That's that. Take it how you want to take it. Okay, bye.